Hello and welcome. My name is Alan, and this is about the death. It's kind of been covered in a lot of places now, but I hadn't had really a chance to react to it. Um, yeah, the murder of Jordan Neely. Let's kind of get into this. I've got some pieces opened up here. Why chokeholds used by Daniel Penny on Jordan Neely are increasingly banned by police departments. Daniel Penny, 24-year-old former Marine, surrendered to police Friday as he faces manslaughter charges after placing Jordan Neely, a 30-year-old homeless man, in a fatal chokehold, a dangerous grip heavily criticized by BLM protesters that has been since banned by several police departments, while the Justice Department warned against its use. Chokeholds, also referred to carotid restraint, are caused by someone applying pressure to the front of another person's throat or windpipe while restricting that person's ability to breathe, according to the Justice Department, resulting in temporary unconsciousness. Both the Justice Department and the American Academy of Neurology note the grip is inherently dangerous because a loss of oxygen or blood flow can cause permanent injury to the brain, including stroke, cognitive disability, or death, while a lack of training using the grip could increase the likelihood for death. In the 4 months after the death of George Floyd, who was killed in 2020 after a Minneapolis police officer held his knee on Floyd's neck, 32 of the 65 largest police departments in the U.S. enacted bans or restrictions against the use of neck restraints, according to a Washington Post survey. The New York Police Department issued a ban on chokeholds in 1993 following calls for a ban after a 21-year-old man was killed by traumatic asphyxia while in police custody 2 years earlier. Other police departments issued bans, including the Los Angeles Police Department in 1983, the Chicago Police Department in 2014, and the Houston Police Department and Philadelphia Police Department in 2020, among others. The New York legislature passed the Eric Garner Anti-Chokehold Act in 2020, which prohibits police officers in the state from using chokeholds or similar restraints. A state order ruled the act to be unconstitutionally vague in 2021, though an appeals court later reinstated it in 2022. Garner died in 2014 after he was placed in a fatal chokehold by a New York City officer, indicating during the encounter, "I can't breathe," which sparked protests across the city calling for the officer Daniel Pantaleo to be charged with murder. Attorney General William Barr announced in 2019 that Pantaleo would not be charged, in concluding a years-long civil rights investigation. The American Academy of Neurology strongly encourages all law enforcement to classify neck restraints at a minimum as a form of deadly force, adding there is no amount of training or method of application of neck restraints that can mitigate the risk of death or permanent profound neurological damage with this maneuver. 237. That's how many times Minneapolis police used neck restraints between 2015 and 2020, when the Minneapolis Police Department banned their use after Floyd's death. According to NBC News, of these restraints, 44 resulted in the suspect losing consciousness. And key background information: Penny, who faces charges of second-degree manslaughter, never intended to harm Neely before placing him in a fatal chokehold, according to his attorneys. Penny acted to protect himself and others aboard the northbound F train earlier in this month, alleging Neely was aggressively threatening Penny and other passengers. Penny was questioned by police and subsequently released after the incident, resulting in local outrage and protest calling for Penny to be charged in Neely's death. Attorney Dante Mills, who represents Neely alongside Lennon Edwards, criticized Penny for using force against Neely as he experienced a mental health crisis. So yeah. Further reading. But yeah. Continue. Whatever. I don't care. I done got it read. Anyway. Yeah. This is from The Hill. Jordan Neely's chokehold death on New York City subway. What has happened so far? The death of Jordan Neely, a 30-year-old homeless man with a history of mental illness on a New York City subway earlier this month, has sparked outcry and protest in the past couple of weeks. Neely was pronounced dead in a hospital after 24-year-old Daniel Penny, a former Marine, placed him in a chokehold. Penny and his attorneys have argued that he was acting in his own defense and that of other passengers, while the lawyers for Neely's family have said Neely did not pose any threat to anyone. Neely's death has shown a spotlight on how mental illness is treated in the country and on race relations, with Neely being black and Penny white. Here's what has happened so far, beginning with the altercation on the subway. And they go through everything starting May the 1st. Looks pretty good. But yeah. A lot of information on it. And this is from Rolling Stone. Giuliani blames Jordan Neely. Again, for me, Giuliani has lost all credibility after he was willing to take Trump's side, even though he knew he was lying. Yeah. But we got some information on the chokeholds. Now, air choke or tracheal choke specifically refers to a true choke that compresses the upper airway, trachea, larynx, or laryngopharynx, hence interfering with breathing and leading to asphyxia. Although less effective at inducing unconsciousness than its vascular counterpart, the air choke causes excruciating pain and air hunger, and in combat sports, the fighter will usually yield such a submission hold. Air chokes have been associated with fractures of the larynx or hyoid bone and are considered less safe than blood chokes to practice. Although blood chokes or carotid restraints, sleeper holds, are a form of strangulation that compresses one or both carotid arteries and or the jugular veins without compressing the airway, hence causing cerebral ischemia and temporary hypoxic condition in the brain. A well-applied blood choke may lead to unconsciousness in 10 to 20 seconds. Injury or death is possible if the arteries remain constrained for several minutes or more. Compared to strangulation with the hands, properly applied blood chokes require little physical strength. So, honestly, this, could have been let go fairly easy. He did not need to hold it. From what I have heard, is 15 minutes. Yeah. And there's even doubt he needed to put it on in the first place. Most chokes featured in combat sports and martial arts are blood chokes, although air chokes and combinations occur as well. Blood chokes, especially rear naked choke or triangle chokes or GI chokes, are commonly used as submission holds in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. In Judo, choke holds known as shimewaza are often subject to restrictions based on age or rank. Chokeholds are not allowed in sport sambo, but are allowed in combat sambo. The chokeholds used to catch wrestling and shoot wrestling are the inspiration for the chokeholds in modern professional wrestling performances. Due to the effectiveness of chokeholds and their popularity in a wide variety of martial arts, they are most often used for submissions in mixed martial art and submission grappling competitions. Some martial arts include instruction on capo, resuscitation techniques, to heal a fighter choked to unconsciousness. So yeah, there was no reason for Penny, to have leaned on his neck, or put him in the chokehold, not leaned on his neck. I'm thinking of the Floyd death. That one, he leaned on his neck. But yeah. Okay, this is on May the 1st. Witnesses have said Neely was pacing in the train and yelling that he was hungry and thirsty and did not have much to live for. But he was not physically threatening or attacking anyone when Penny took him down. However, they also said he was acting erratically and hostilely. Penny was initially questioned by detectives following the incident, but was released from custody without charge. He told them he asked other passengers to call 911 as he restrained Neely. Video of the incident taken by a witness began to go viral on social media platforms and was reported in media outlets. The video shows Neely struggling as Penny holds him on the ground in the chokehold. Two additional men also help Penny hold Neely down, trying to keep his arms in place. It also shows several bystanders around them watching what was happening. A man off camera could be heard expressing concerns about the situation once Neely had passed out, telling Penny that Neely needed to be let go. So yeah, Neely had already passed out. At that point, it's doing further damage. The videos stirred outrage online. Some argued that Penny majorly overreacted to someone who was clearly struggling with mental illness, while others defended Penny's actions. Additional witnesses began giving statements to media outlets to detail what they observed, mostly saying that Neely was acting in an aggressive manner but was not attacking anyone. New York City Mayor Eric Adams said in his first public response to the incident that not enough was known to make a conclusion about what happened. May 3rd, Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg's office confirmed it is investigating the incident. A spokesperson for the office would look into the medical examiner's report on Neely's cause of death, witness accounts, and additional medical records. The city's medical examiner's office determined that Neely's death was a homicide and that he died by compression of the neck. But it noted that the legal system would determine the charges that would stem from the killing. A group of protesters gathered in the station where Neely had died to call for an arrest to be made. Adams said in a statement that any loss of life is tragic, but that he would refrain from commenting further because much remained unknown. Adams received criticism from some over his approach to the situation, blah, blah, blah. Can you tell us? I say it's 15 minutes because this is based on other videos I've been watching. Oh, they don't say anything. Let's do this. How long did Penny choke Neely? The police interviewed Mr. Penny, but initially released him without charging him. The struggle on the F train was captured in a 4-minute video showing Mr. Penny choking Mr. Neely and holding on for an additional 50 seconds after Mr. Neely stopped struggling. So yeah, we don't know how long the total was, but he held on 50 seconds longer than he needed to. Yeah. So we know it was an unnecessary amount of time. This, according to CBS News. I don't care about the bell. No, screw you. Fix it next time. Go away with this crap. 15 years. According to prosecutors, several witnesses saw Neely making threats and scaring passengers. Penny approached Neely from behind and placed him in the chokehold, taking him to the floor, prosecutors said in a bail application Friday. At the next stop, Penny continued to hold Neely for several minutes, according to prosecutors. So I've heard as high as 15 minutes. Yeah. I mean, this would be definitive proof that it went beyond just self-defense. It is pure and out murder. He may have only meant to perform a defensive maneuver to protect himself and the other passengers, but yeah, that's not what happened. This is why I have issues with some people from the military coming back with what they are taught. I think they need to be taught how to readapt to civilian life. Because honestly, we hear already about how they struggle with their mental health, their difficulty finding jobs and readapting to society. And I can see why this easily happens, because they're taught, to kill. That's one of the things in the military. You're taught to kill because the whole thing is you're going to be in a war. They need to be helped and taught how to readapt. Because you've been basically molded into a killing machine, because that's what they want in the military. But I think it should also be the responsibility to help them readapt to life as a civilian. I really do. So that it prevents a lot of issues, this being one of them. But like I said, I think Penny probably meant well. I don't think it was he wanted to kill the guy. He was just trying to restrain him from hurting himself or the other passengers. However, that is not the approach that should be used when you're dealing with someone who has mental illness. I know Penny probably didn't even realize that, but still, it's an unfortunate event. It's still a murder. It's still a homicide. but it's unfortunate how it happened. Like I said, Neely wasn't at fault, but Penny, I think he had good intentions. They just went sour because he didn't have restraint in what he did. But I'll go ahead and end this episode here. As always, educate thyself, think, read, study, learn. Someone tries to tell you something you have trouble believing, ask them to cite their sources. I'll be putting my sources in the description box below the video. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you all in the next one. Until then, later.